During my time with Burger King, I took up my MBA during that time, right? And one of my seatmate was the senior vice president of the Inquirer. So we became close. And after graduation, he said, "Why don't you come and work for the Inquirer?" And that time, Burger King Pure Foods was sold to San Miguel. So I wasn't too sure of what will happen to us. And moving already to another career was a very good option that time. Okay, medyo I got the ride already for fast food. I want to try another profession, and media was something also exciting, you know. And it's Inquirer. It's not like any other newspaper. So it's a good experience. So when I was interviewed by the key people, the senior top managers there, they said, "What do you want? You're from fast food. You have no media experience. What do you want to handle?" So I just said, "I don't even know. Just give me the toughest job."
Wow.
Okay. So I said, "Okay, classifieds, right? Classifieds and marketing."
As in, you really made that challenge.
Yeah, because in effect, I want to approach it, and I always see myself that I want the toughest job because that's where I have no competition. No one even in the company wanted that position anyway. So it's really a safe route. And if I fail, the pressure is not too much heavily there, right? Rather than you get the easiest job, the market leader, and then you didn't do well, and it would really fall, right? So it was that time when the classifieds market, when I came, was at 15%. I left, we're at 33% of the market, right? So we doubled that market share in terms of number of pages, in terms of number of advertisers, people reading the classified section. So all our metrics doubled, during my almost 4 year stay there.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it was fun. It was fun. When with Burger King, I worked with a lot of young people. In Inquirer, you work with a lot of mature people, with the more veterans in the industry, 15 years, right? And the harder part there, naman, was how do you get them to respect you? That time I was 24, right? I was 24
you're
there.
Pretty young.
I was 24, and my people were 45 and above, 50, 60.
So you're managing people who
Way
are much older than you were.
Who are what I could term the nanay and my lola already, right? And it was different. In fact, looking back now, I find working with them easier. They're easier to manage for me
Compared
to the younger. Right now, I run Yehe. It's totally like a college. It's a college classroom.
And
right?
you're the professor.
And I'm the professor. Yeah, well, professor and dean and everything. Right. So, but working with older people, have a good experience with them. They stay true to their jobs. They work hard because they have families. They're very serious. They're not too ambitious in a sense that if you don't like me, I'll go to another. They're not like that. No? So they're still with the older generation that they start their jobs there, they will retire there, and the pressure, the outlook, the mindset is totally different.
Now, your first job is in the fast food industry. Your second job was in print.
Yep.
Your third job is in internet.
Yep.
So all of these three jobs are really not related with each other.
Yeah.
So how are you able to manage working in different industries?
But I think that's also one of my objectives. I don't want to stick myself into a specific industry because sometimes you look at the great ideas that were created. The great ideas created do not come from that specific industry. You get it elsewhere, and you try to fix it up and make it that industry's product. And that is why I don't want to be confined to a specific industry, right? On top of my professional job, I manage some businesses. Of course, these are at the board level rather than operational. I have a billboard. I've been into dog food. I've run so many other businesses, right? And the learnings I have from each are totally different, right? To stick to that specific industry would have confined me already, no? And if you look at the traditional way of how people used to be in a job and retire from that job, it's very siloed, very focused. No? I think in the next generation, especially now, you have to be in all facets. You have to understand all facets of business.
Well, a lot of viewers would actually think that since you're Chinese,
Yep.
you're well privileged,
Yeah.
and you can gain a lot of contacts because
Yeah.
a lot of people will just look up to you.
Mhm.
So it's more of like being Chinese would actually work for you as compared to a lot of people who are thinking na I don't have anything with me. I did not graduate from the Ateneo.
Yeah.
I'm not Chinese. I can't take up MBA. So what made you, how can you be able to succeed in life? Because you just said that you work as a crew. Well, you work as a manager, but
Yeah.
then you did the job of a
Yeah,
crew.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of your batchmates were actually laughing at you.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of customers
Yeah,
would
yeah.
shout at
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
So, what made you stay and stick with that,
Yeah.
in spite of all
You know,
those hardships?
One of the key things, I'm a Chinese. My father runs a Divisoria business. We're one of the wholesalers of lighting products. And I'm the eldest. So initially there was some pressure to run the family business. But I have to give it to my dad. He said, if you want, you go out and experience life differently because this is Divisoria business. Yeah, I don't think I send you to Ateneo to run a Divisoria business, right? And I had my sights really on running our family business, but I said, it's good to be in corporate. The problem there was that when I started in corporate and became successful, I was promoted almost every year. Eventually, my dad said, don't come back. You're doing better there. Your salary there would be way higher than what eventually we can offer you.
So your dad didn't want you to.
Right now, no, not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore. And he just said that you're okay. You're doing well. You have a professional job. You have other business of your own already. So theoretically, zero pressure now to just manage a business. No? So if in the end I have two more younger brothers. No? So they're the ones there helping out. But in the end, if we all decided to take our own paths, he'll just close down the business, right? Because that's his run. He wants us to have our own run of whatever we want in life. And that was good because I didn't have that pressure really, okay, I have a time clock ticking and I have to go back after 5 years. I never had that. And which was good because I was being promoted every year. Even in Inquirer, I entered as a manager, became an AVP after 9 months, become a VP in 13 months. I mean, things like that. So it was I can really focus on my professional job.
Can you say that being Atenean played a part in your promotion, in your career advancement, or being Chinese played a great part in that? Because a lot of our viewers didn't come from Ateneo. They're not Chinese. So how can you tell them that
Yeah.
they just need to work hard?
No, I agree with you. I don't think so. I don't think if there's only one thing I can attribute to my Atenean education. In fact, it's not even the connections. It's not even nothing. One thing I can attribute is our tremendous philosophy classes and theology classes. In fact, whatever I've learned in marketing in Ateneo, 15 units of marketing in Ateneo, totally throw it out the window. In the first day that I was in a marketing job, every textbook is textbook. In real life, the marketing formula changes, right? And what I learned is just to ask the right questions, and that was what Philo taught us. When you're in an oral defense with your professor, they will ask you crazy questions, and you learn that, right? And then you realize in marketing, you ask the crazy questions because the crazy questions gives you the crazy answers, and these are the compelling products and the services that people do not see, but you see it differently, right? There will always be no substitute for hard work. If you compute my working time, my working days versus others, I'm 32 now, turning 33. But I think I've worked for more than 40 years already. Right? I don't work 8 hours. I work more than 16 hours a day, and I don't have my weekends.
So you go to the office every day?
Almost every day, and then in some cases, yeah, Sundays. It's not unnatural for me to be in the office on Sunday. But of course, there are some times that I have Starbucks as an office. Right? There are a lot of times that when I'm setting up my own businesses, it really takes my entire weekends. Right now, I have a marketing consultancy. We have a lot of clients already, so it's taking up my entire weekend. That's the entire Saturday and Sunday for you. On top of after work in Yehey, you have to attend to I'm either studying. Well, I just finished my doctorate last year. So it was from Phoenix, University of Phoenix. It's a 7-year program.
Wow.
So it's finishing everything. So it's really a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally.
So you're also big on education?
Very much.
Okay.
Very much. I like to study. I think one thing people can take away is what I have in my brain, right? And when you educate yourself, it's not only intellectual stimulation, but how you are as a person, right? Education not only teaches you IQ, whatever is in the theory, but also EQ, right? Which is how you deal with friends, your colleagues at work. Sometimes your classmates are much older than you, Some more, some are of course a bit that time was younger than me because I was one of the youngest. How you deal with them, and that actually gave me that advantage when I'm dealing with older people. And finally, also what I call spiritual quotient, how you deal with setbacks, failures, your spirit, your human spirit, would have a different approach. So now, whatever you throw at me, I can easily deflect. I can easily absorb it and turn it around.
You said you finished your doctorate in University of Phoenix. Yes.
Yes.
And it's a 7-year program.
Yes.
So did you go to Phoenix, Arizona?
That's right.
Okay.
It's an online course.
Online
I take
course.
everything
Okay.
on the computer. Our classes are held every day, but it's what you call asynchronous learning.
Mhm.
We all signed in at different times, but we interacted heavily. At the same time, every end of the year, every around October, November, December, you have to go to Phoenix, to Arizona, for the Rivalida, to make sure that you're the ones doing your paper and doing everything. So it's a 7-year program. I finished all the content courses in 4 years, and the writing of my dissertation took me 3 years to finish.
So why did you decide to take up your doctorate when you're very successful in the corporate world?
That's a easy question, because you realize that after the MBA, then when you thought that you know everything, you also see everyone under you taking up their MBAs. And if you have an MBA and they have an MBA, parang everyone's the same level. So I said, how do you make sure that you're one step ahead of everyone? And also I said, okay, then let's go for the doctorate. Right? And that time I was okay, because that time I started my doctorate when I was around 25, 26. So I was one of the youngest. And of course that time I don't want to break the momentum of studying. So studying was still second nature. My classmates were what, 50, 60, and I saw that they were having a hard time absorbing it already, because they studied, then they worked for 20 plus years. Going back to the educational system was really hard for them. So I said, I really have to take on that advantage. If I were to take the doctorate now, I think I would have a hard time.
Wow.
Right? Because
Okay.
I'm iba ng focus. You have family, you have so many other things already at your mind. That time, it was pure and simple. You have a professional job, I have like 1 or 2 business that time. What else? Okay, let's finish it.
Where did you take up your master's?
It's Murdoch University. It's a school in Perth. It's in West Australia. But that time, it was a very new program. They launched it here, and they fly in the teachers every weekend. So Friday, 6 to 9, Saturday, 9 to 6. You interact with the professor.
So what happens is, you're also learning
Yep.
based on in this Australian standards, but you're studying here in the Philippines.
We're studying it here. We're taking it here in Makati. So they have a classroom here, and they teach. I think it's still existing even up to now, but they changed it. It's not Murdoch anymore. It's a UWA, University of Western Australia. So they're teaching a Australian program, but based here in the Philippines. So you don't have to fly there. The only time you fly there is when you graduate. So you go with other MBA students who really studied there, and it's the same diploma that you get.
Why didn't you take up your master's here in the Philippines? There are a lot of universities and colleges offering masteral programs. Why did you take it up with
I'm
them?
a believer in differentiation. As you've seen, even in my career path, I always take the load less traveled. If I were to take up a masteral in any of the local schools, I would just be with any other local graduates. I said differentiation is the most important thing for me, and that's why I said if I take up something that is really not common, right? And that time in our class we're less than 20, and we were the first batch. So it was a totally different experience, because being the first batch, they really invested a lot also. They really fly in the teachers, they gave us the best service and everything. Right? And of course, when I graduated, in my resume, it's still a Murdoch University. It's an Australian university, and I don't even have to fly there, right? Only during graduation, right? And it was cheap that time. So what? Just $10,000, $12,000 for the entire program.
Wow.